Welcome to Blk Cinder, the show about Black dating, Black politics, and Black culture. I want to give two of our brand new young ladies an opportunity to introduce themselves. So, Gigi, if you could kind of introduce yourself, tell us about you, where you're from, and plug any social media that you may have.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Gigi Gillum, licensed marriage and family therapist. My Instagram is like HEYMISS Gillum, GILLIAM. I don't quite know what to expect today, so I think this is going to be a fun and exciting show, and I'm just happy to be here. So thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. Welcome, Gigi.
Thank
Next
you.
up, we have a Jade. Jade, if you could tell us a little bit about you, where you from, what you do, and also plug any social media that you got going.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Jade Alexandria. I also go by mixed_Barbie04, so you can follow me on IG. I am a co-host on another podcast called Underrated Access, so definitely check that out. Link is in my bio. And then also I'm a dancer and a model, so follow me, and I'm excited. I'm glad you guys invited me. Yeah, see what we can talk about tonight.
Good looking out. Good looking out. For sure. Excited for this podcast. All right. So the first topic, there's on social media, there's been a couple clips going around on Dr. Umar. He was on another podcast called the Daily Wrap Up Crew. And basically he was saying that black women, black men are responsible for the state of black women. And so I'll play a little clip real fast so we can check it out, see what they're talking about. Then I'll come back. I'll tell you my opinion, and then everybody else can kind of chime in. All right. So let me go ahead and pull up the clip. We'll watch it, and then I'll give my opinion, and we can start the show.
Also tell black women if you're going to go get you an African man from the continent.
Can you guys hear that or no?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay.
All right. You're going to have to understand that the way in which you talk to black men in America will not be tolerated over there.
Why the fuck is it tolerated? It's not tolerated here. That's what we're trying to tell them.
Well, over here, I want to say this to us, because we try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible for. Let's be honest. The black woman has had to hold down the black house by herself, although imperfectly. She's had to do it by herself since the mass incarceration of black males began in the 1970s. You understand me? Most of our children are raised by a single mother right now. And it has been that way for about 50 years. So when a sister says, I don't need a man, because she couldn't find one strong enough to hold her down. Or when you meet a woman and you say, sister, I'm strong enough to be your man. You ain't got to work or you ain't got to pay the bills or whatever. Pull back. I got you. And she can't do it because all the other men before you who disappointed her. So what I'm saying is, black men, we got to be patient with our women because we created that personality. We created that, and then we want to act like we didn't play a role.
We have to be held accountable for their poor selection.
No, you have to be held accountable. No, you have to be held accountable because they have a poor selection. See, what you're saying, you're selecting a poor mate. And what I'm saying is they don't have much to select one, so of course she's going to end up with a poor mate. And why is she going to end up with a poor mate? Because we as black men are not raising black boys to be the men that our women need. We are not. They out there killing themselves right now. What we doing about it? Unemployed black males, what we doing about it? Pants sagging, weed smoking, what we doing about it? Black men are not raising black boys to be the men our community needs. That is 100% our fault. What I'm saying is she got a right to be angry with us. She got a right to be angry with us. We have not been on our job as black men. If the men are the providers, what have we been providing for our community? I'm not speaking you individually.
Yes.
Because you may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father, but guess what? What are we doing for the community? What are we doing for the children who don't have a father? You don't think the black woman got a right to be angry when she's been raising 2/3 of the kids by herself for 50 years? And the minute she raised her voice, we say she's not humble enough? She had to become masculine to survive the rape, the molestation, the domestic abuse. Are you telling me you can't see how we created that?
I understand that, but she needs to be
If we was loving
selective.
our women and taking care of our women, do you think she would be like that? That personality has a history.
If she's picking Pookie and Ray Ray instead of
You're making her a scapegoat.
No, she's picking a scapegoat.
No.
There's good quality men that they ignore.
Why she even got it? Why is there even a Pookie in the selection?
You gotta ask her that.
No. I'm gonna tell you why there's a Pookie in the selection.
Why?
Because black men have abandoned black boys and have allowed social media, white media, athletes, and rappers to raise them. That's why she with Pookie. If we never allowed Pookie to develop, she would not have a Pookie. If we're going to be men, the first thing we got to do is take responsibility for why our women feel the way they feel.
I can hear that.
I'm not saying.
Yeah.
All right.
Intense.
A whole lot was said there. A whole lot was said there. Actually, let me run this like this. Here we go. A whole lot was said there. And, while I don't agree with Dr. Umar that often, with this one I do. And the main reason I do is because I feel like men lead and women follow. And so if men lead, women are going to be a reflection of these men's leadership. And if women are not picking, or are having a hard time picking good men, it's a reflection of their men's leadership. But before I go on, who's jumping in here?
Yeah, let me take a chop at this lumber. So, this is in my experience with women, this tracks. This is nothing new. I'm responsible for my poor behavior. And when she has poor behavior, I'm also responsible for her poor behavior. With Dr. Umar, I'm just wondering, like, does he get paid to run down black men, or is this volunteer work? Like, is there $1 in this for him? I'm
pretty sure.
I really struggle to synthesize this. So, because every single dude in the black community is not, thorough, then the women who do pick Pookie and Ray Ray, as they call them, that's my fault too. So what we're saying is we're removing all agency from the women. Somehow I didn't raise the fatherless boys in my community up to the standard where a black woman can respect them. This goes back to, and ladies, I beg your pardon, please don't take this the wrong way, but the accountability and women in the whole, I just find to be mutually exclusive. Like, how is that our fault too? Can somebody help me out?
I don't think it's necessarily our fault, because I'm not gonna negate what he's saying in response of men do have, I feel like, a hard time struggling with taking accountability in general. And I don't know what it is with my generation personally. I feel like a lot of men don't know how to lead. But on the other note, I feel like when it comes to women as a whole, picking the Pookie and picking, the not great men, I feel like that stems from like a deeper issue, not necessarily relationships they had with men, but the first relationship that we know as young girls, and that's the relationship that we have with our father. So it kind of stems back from that. And, when we grow up and stuff, like we always go back to like, situations, or like even our parents, situations we've seen, or, family relationships and different things like that. And some of us, we do it subconsciously or consciously when it comes to picking men, So I don't think women have a hard time with accountability. I just feel like some women just aren't aware.
Yeah, I tend to agree with him, and here's the reason. I don't think that there's somewhere you have to go back to. There's some source, right? You go back, like he said, in the 1970s when there stopped being fathers in the home, and a lot of that stems from uh, welfare, and when there was a crutch for welfare, black men were needed. Now, I think it's two parts there. Now it's women who feel like, oh, I don't need a man, and then black men, feeling like they're getting away and don't have to raise their sons or daughters or anything, right? But there has to be some responsibility on men who aren't willing to raise their kids. Like there's far too much of that in our community, and to say that that's not a factor, I think would be just ill advised. Like there's no way it's not a factor in it. But to lay all the blame, yeah, maybe not. Like I think there's still some accountability that everybody's got to have for themselves. But man, like black women have probably had one of the roughest goals for whatever type of race, genders out there. There's a lot of negativity in the people, in anybody's mind, in a black man, in white men, and everybody. Like there's always this negative stigma on black women. It's starting to change, and there's a lot that's going on to further that. But the fact that it was there, for so long, yeah, there's a lot that they're having to fight through. So, part of it, I feel like it's true from both ways. Like there is an issue where there's nothing to choose from because we're not, black men aren't in the homes and we're raising, kids or raising kids. But there's also go back to when women felt like, okay, I don't need them because I've got this wealth or I've got this check that's going to be the leader and support me, and not and men just kind of falling off from there. So that's my take.
Miss Gigi, what's your take?
Oh man, I just have so many thoughts, so I'm going to try to streamline them all. But to answer the question, are black men responsible for the state of black relationships? I'm going to say no. I think black men and women are responsible for the state of black relationships. I think people aren't choosing their partners well. I think that we're guided now based upon looks and lust and not morals and values and character. So you get with this person and find out that you guys don't have anything in common, and then you bring a child into the world and you don't get along. And then that becomes the generational divisiveness of the black home. So I just think that the usage of social media, and this is what I did agree with Dr. Umar, has really, really, really had a negative impact on the state of black relationships in a whole. I see a lot of people projecting not based upon their personal experiences, but based upon what they've seen on social media. So if someone is to set a standard like, oh, you know what, I'm not going to engage into relations with you until I get to know you better or until we're in a relationship, then there's sometimes this negative connotation or stigma that you might be like stuck up or, you may be too high maintenance. Where back in the day, that's what our relationships, principles, and values were set upon. So I think that people are utilizing social media and applying it to their life. And I think that we're missing that there is a agenda and there is almost like a gender wars in the black community. I don't see this with any other race. I'm in a lot of different circles and settings, and I don't see this amongst any other race but our own. So I think we have to hold each other accountable. I think we have to make sure that even if you don't like, the mother of your child or the father of your child, you figure out a way to co-parent for the sake of the child. And I think we have to do better at picking our mates so that we can do marriage and hopefully one day end this cycle of broken homes that are plagued in our communities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well said.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I agree that let me throw myself back here in the middle real quick. I agree that people don't pick their mates right. One of the things that I always say is, the work in a relationship doesn't happen in the relationship. It happens to find the relationship. Meaning if you do the work to find the person who, is looking the same direction as you and is aligned with you, you'll have a much more chance of having a happy relationship. But I can't negate the responsibility of men being leaders, right? when you, Gigi, when you just said, like, most people need to find someone who they get together and then they have sex and then they have kids and then they realize that they don't like each other. I believe that starts with men, because men lead, and if men are going to lead, then everything else falls on our shoulders after that. Like, if I'm at work and I lead a team and my team messes up, my boss ain't gonna go to my team and go, "Why'd you guys mess up?" My boss is gonna come to me. He's gonna be like, "Hey, you know what? Your team screwed up. I don't know if you're the right guy. I don't know if you're a good leader." So leaders don't get to shark, or whatever the word is. They don't get to. They don't get to
Shuck.
shuck.
Try
Yeah,
shuck.
whatever. Yeah, whatever. Subvert responsibility. And as a black man in the black community, I think that black men in the past um, didn't lead. And now we start to see this whole culture of women having children alone, women growing, having single families, women struggling, trying to raise kids. And then those boys grow up very feminized because they don't have a man in their life and they don't become leaders. And then you have this whole death spiral. But I think, ultimately that responsibility falls on the shoulders of black men, because as a man, we are supposed to lead. And if you're going to lead, then that means, yes, you're responsible for you and the people who follow you. You are responsible for them. So
But
I have to
if
agree with
she's
Dr.
not
Umar
following,
just on that principle.
so but you're saying you have to lead who's following you. But the example you just gave, where two people meet, have sex, and have a baby, there was a step that you skipped in between there, between sex and the baby. Now, once you've had sex and fertilized an egg, you're not in no leadership position no more. She can do what she wants. She basically holds your future in limbo. Uh, between the family court and whatever the hell else she wants to do. Like, she's not under your leadership. She got pregnant. She, basically got pregnant without a wedding ring. She mismanaged her womb, and now all of us have to be, held responsible for that. I can't be responsible for that.
I mean, that goes two ways. I mean, like, we both mismanaged the womb. Like, I think the black community has a big issue with, like, sex and not understanding the full consequence of sex. Like,
I get
it's a
that. I'm
trophy
saying
so early.
once you've had sex and the pregnancy starts, I can't decide that we're not having this kid. She
But I
can,
think
but I can't.
I think that goes back to your leadership. Like, at the end of the day, if you're a leader, you don't have sex with women who aren't on the same page with you.
Right.
So
Okay.
as a leader,
So we're getting into idealism now, right? Or are we gonna have a real talk about how men
Well,
genuinely act with their penises?
it takes
We,
two
no,
to
we,
listen,
tango.
we only, huh?
It takes two to tango.
listen, I'm
Yeah,
just
I get
saying.
that. I get that
So
platitude,
like
but like,
prior,
let's
like
be real.
you kind of, but you have to have these conversations with people. If you're laying down with somebody, you have to realize potentially the consequences that can come with it, whether you're having safe sex or not. I mean, there's always that 1% chance that it's not going to be the outcome that you want. So you have to realize, well, if we're going to decide to do this with each other, we got to be okay with, whatever relationship we're willing to have with each other after
No,
that
you're right. You're
happens,
100% right about that. What I'm saying is that she's not under your leadership at that point. If she's not wearing your last name, at that point, she's driving.
But
And,
go
not to
ahead, Kay.
stereotype women drivers, but you know what I mean?
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Kay.
Okay. Kind of.
Kay, you.
Okay.
Oh.
So the issue with that is, um, your decision comes with her decision. Like Kay said, as the leader, like, you can decide what you're going to do at that point, and with full understanding of who that person is, what she has to offer you, what type of relationship you have. But in our community, the sex trophy is so major that, like, we're willing to forsake all of that. I had my son at 20 years old, like, thinking I was kind of cool at that time. That shit wasn't cool. Like, nothing, just what we had wasn't how it's supposed to be done. But in our community, that's like, it was a trophy at the time. Like, I'm not saying like I won something, but like sex was the ultimate. So we were completely like backwards. But that's the problem with like in the Black community. We got to start to change that culture to where we don't feel like that's the ultimate goal. Like if that's not the ultimate goal, then we have less pregnancies, we have less failed relationships, we have less of the fatherless kids. I mean,
right. But I think we kind of moved the goalpost there, because just because as a man we act irresponsibly, like practically, right? Like if we're talking about idealism versus practicalism or practicalities, idealism says, yeah, be a leader, be a leader, be a leader. This is how leaders act, right? But every now and then, you know, we're practical and we fall short of being leaders, and we don't act like leaders. So just because we don't act like leaders doesn't mean that we all of a sudden don't have that responsibility, right? So if I'm like, hey, I'm about to go hit this raw, you know, I don't care, I'm not acting like a leader.
Raw is law. Raw is
Yeah.
law. Let's go.
But that's what I'm saying. Like at that point, I'm not acting like a leader. You know what I'm saying? And you have to accept that reality of, oh, okay, now I'm not leading. But if I was leading, then I wouldn't be hitting raw without putting my last name on her, or I wouldn't be having babies out of wedlock or anything like that. Like we can say, yeah, there's times where we don't act like leaders, but that doesn't give us a pass for not being leaders. You know, it is what it is. If we're going to be men who lead, then we have to behave like that. If we're not, then we have to say, hey, I wasn't leading. I fell short of that. And accept that. And that's just what it is.
Yeah, I would just say a couple of things. Like, not everybody is a leader. Just because you're a man does not mean that you are a leader, and it doesn't mean that you're a good leader at that. And so some people, unfortunately, aren't meant to be leaders. That's why you have CEOs and that's why you have employees. And I'm not saying that a woman is meant to be a leader, but I am saying that every man is not a leader. If you don't even know the direction that you're going in your life and what you want, then how am I supposed to follow that? So I think we have to take a couple of notches back and figure out the foundation. Do you want the same things before you lay down with a person? Do you want marriage, or do you just want kids? Because those are two different things. And what I come to find these days is there are men that do want children, but they don't want wives. They want this great woman to raise their kids and they want to procreate with her, but they don't want the marriage and the responsibility that is attached to that. And so there used to be a time way back when you got someone pregnant, you married them, which kind of, eliminates the divisiveness in the home. That is not really where we are today. So in order to speed it up to today, I think people have to be intentional to make sure that when you are involved with someone, they want the same things as you, and not be so quick to get into bed. Because like I said earlier, people are led by lust and not morals, values, and character. Mm-hmm. And so that's one. The second thing on that is a lot of men were not, I can't say a lot. Well, statistics don't lie. A lot of men were not raised with a Black father in the home. And so that trickles down. So when you talk about leadership, who are you learning your leadership skills from? You have to be taught in some way. And so in order for our kids not to be, and I don't have children, by the way, but I was raised in a 2-parent household and I love my Black daddy. And it's, listen, it's hard because I've seen an example of, I've seen a prime example of what leadership looks like. And I don't see that a lot today. And so I think when we talk about leadership, we have to understand and really look at who did you learn leadership from? Was it social media, as Dr. Umar said? Was it your father? Was it your mother? Who did you learn leadership from? Who did you learn your morals from, your value system? Mm-hmm. Because people be to lead and want you to follow them, and they don't even know the direction that they're going in.
Yeah, no, I agree. There are people who don't know how to lead. And I feel like if you are not sure that you know how to lead, you probably shouldn't date. Or exactly. you probably should tell people, women in the beginning, hey, I'm not trying to lead. I'm just out here having fun. Yeah. And that's what it is.
But they think they're
but dudes do tell women that.
But I also
they tell women that, not in those words.
But
but
I also disagree because most men can be leaders. You just have to, like you said, you just have to find the person who wants to follow you, because not everybody's going to follow you, right? But most men can be leaders. There is a woman out there who will follow you. Now, are you going to take the time to be diligent and find that woman? Hey, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But there are women out there who will follow some men who have a low level of leadership, who have a medium level of leadership, and who have a high level of leadership. It just depends on that person and if they are cool with your type of leadership. And like I said, at the end of the day, like you don't necessarily have to get married. You just have to be, like you said, you have to be aligned with the person on what you guys want. You guys could maybe want a relationship that doesn't involve the government. I know people like that who are like, hey, I don't want to involve the government, but I still want to have a household with a woman where we have children and we just don't have the government involved with it. Hey, if that's
that's
what
pump
you want to
faking.
do, if that's what
That's
you
pump
want to do,
faking. That's not.
listen,
That's not pump faking.
That is pump
we all have
faking.
our different opinions about it.
Oh,
But
hold,
like
hold
I
real
said,
quick, Kate. Real quick, real quick.
go ahead.
We almost got a divorce on tax grounds only. If we could have saved money tax wise, we were about to get a divorce. So that's not bullshit. That's real.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait. I didn't catch that. So say it again. You almost got.
Like if we could have done better, like for me filing as like head of household and her filing as some other instead of like married, or however we had to do for married, we would have got a divorce and just ran it that way.
No, I get what you're saying, but as far as like a nuclear family in the household, there's not this funny bunny kind of shit where it's like, oh, we don't want the government and all. Now fuck all that. When I'm in a coma and somebody got to decide to leave the plug in or pull it out, they're not gonna be like, oh, bring his sneaky link in here, let her make a decision. No, fuck all that.
Right.
No,
Is it your
you don't
wife or
have to have
nah?
marriage to do that. You can have
No, you
Yeah.
actually do.
Nah,
I'm sorry?
you can have someone who makes decisions for you. You don't have to be married. I make decisions for my mom. We're not married. So
I'm
you don't
not. Yeah,
have to
but
be
she's
married.
your next of kin.
But you don't have to be married. There's different ways that you can go about making decisions for people if they're
The person
incapacitated.
that
You
makes
don't
the decisions
they
for
don't have
you
to
is your
be
next of kin.
they don't have to be your next of kin. They absolutely
No,
don't.
no,
I
it
know this for
defaults to
certain.
your next of kin unless you specifically go in there and do what needs to be done
Correct.
to say that.
Correct. You
But
can
who's doing that? Most people ain't doing that. Most
listen.
people
I
don't got.
people
listen.
don't get married are.
My whole thing is hey, if marriage is for you, you can do that. If you want something different, that's cool too. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater just because of a certain term or legality. That's all I'm
If you
saying.
want
Now,
something different, it's called an out of wedlock baby. That's what it's called. Your child was made within marriage or without. It's not. I
okay.
mean, if we're
An
gonna
out of
call things
wedlock
I
what they
don't
baby
are,
in
I
a
think
there's a
in a
we're I
two
defined
think
parent
we're
term.
household still works.
yeah, I think we're still just talking about the nuclear family. And at the end of the day, if you want to get married or not, that's up to you. But this conversation isn't about getting married. We can actually have another conversation about getting married and if
All
you
right,
should
fair
or
enough.
should not.
But
But it
I think
kind of is though, because we're
the
talking about
conversation
the breakdown of the home. And what's happening is, as you said earlier, there's a lot of women that are raising children by themselves. And then there's, men that, are weekend dads. And here's the thing, which is something that we haven't talked about. My friend, her dad raised them. I don't see also a lot of men that are like, I want the kids to live with me. That is an option. I don't see that option being presented. It's always like, oh, yeah, she has the kids, and they're saying all these different things about this mother who has taken the time to raise these children. When I have not personally seen a lot, I've seen it sometimes, men saying, you know what, I want my kids to live with me. I'm going to fight for my
that's
kids
part of
to
that
live.
is because family court sides with the mother so heavily that she would have to be so
Times have
unfit.
changed, though.
Right.
Times have
Not
changed.
not that
And
drastically.
not really.
Not
Not
that
really.
no,
I
no,
drastically.
can
I'm in the court systems, right? So times have changed. And unless you're actually saying that you know someone personally that has fought for their kids, like, and went to the family court system, then when it's just
I
hearsay.
do.
Okay, what was their
No, it's not.
experience?
No, it's not hearsay. I live in this world too. Like
Yeah, but
that's a thing.
a lot of times people are saying things that they've regurgitated on social media. But I personally, and what I've seen in my work and personal life, I have not seen a lot of men say, I want to fight for my kids or even take them to the court system. It's just this whole idea like the mom's going to win. But you don't even
Well, I
know.
mean, I'm not heavy on social media. You would struggle to find me on social media.
Well, it's
if you
not about
look.
you. I'm
I'm
talking about
talking
generally speaking.
right, but what
Okay.
I'm saying is that when I say that women have to be unfit for the father to get the kid, usually, not I'm not talking about 100% of the time, but as a rule, if all things are equal and both parents are fit, how many judges are taking the kids from their mom? I'm not even saying they should,
Yeah.
but that's not common.
Yeah, at best you're going to get 50-50 at best.
Right.
The woman has to be literally on drugs or some type
Yeah.
of health risk to the children for the father to get, full or sole custody. Other than that, either the mother will have a larger percentage of custody of the children or it's a 50-50 custody. But I think this conversation was mostly about just the leadership of men and just to bring it back, the leadership of men from yesteryear to today has absolutely gone down. And for me, I think Dr. Umar, is telling a little bit of the truth. Like I said, I disagree with Dr. Umar on a lot of stuff, but I do believe that the leadership of men today is a lot lower than it was in the past, and it's something that men of today need to work on. I definitely believe that.
By the way, we seen that school yet? I know that school was in been in
Yeah,
progress for some
yeah,
time.
I don't know. That's why I say there's a lot of
Oh,
stuff
okay.
I
Just
disagree
wondering.
with Dr. Umar on. A lot
Right.
of stuff. All right,
Okay.
let's hit the next topic. This one, I'm not gonna really show a video, but just kind of piggybacking off of our black men responsible for the state of black relationships. I kind of want to go into what's at this point, what is the biggest political threat to black people? And I think it's, yes, the breakdown of the nuclear family in our household, but when it comes to like politics and outside of the nuclear household, I kind of believe that they're intertwined. I feel like because women are leading so many of our households nowadays, we are stuck voting one way politically, which um, lessens our chance of actually getting anything politically from the party that most African Americans vote for, because we have no leverage, and it's because our women vote Democrat overwhelmingly, and when we vote overwhelmingly Democrat, it loosens our leverage. I think that's the biggest political threat, and I think that that's something that the black community needs to talk about, as far as how do we regain leverage politically so that we can kind of get the things that we want. But I'm gonna throw that topic out there, and I'll let you guys kind of jump on it and see what you guys think. What do you think is the biggest political threat for black people?
Yeah, I mean that, just to piggyback on what you were saying, Kay. There's a there's an we've been pretty reliant on one party for a long time and not seeing many results. When you look at areas of heavy black populations, we don't see very many results from the political arena. And I got two parts to this. So in the first part is, yeah, we rarely see gains. We see a lot of talk. We see a lot of bluster, and um, I didn't even think about that we're so easily into the party and so far in that there's no reason to really win our vote. Like we don't have leverage to where we demand things from our political parties. We just allow our votes to be cast and not follow up and follow through on things that were promised, because I know of right now, I can't think of very many um, inner cities that have political sway, and the black community starts thriving based on the decisions that are made. But the flip side, real quick, is you think about like Japanese people. How many Japanese politicians can you think of? I can't think of any. Like just straight, Japanese American or whatever you want to call them. But Japanese people don't have a whole lot of trouble making the way in society and being successful. So I think part of it is us understanding that we don't necessarily need politics to be successful and to make it in the world. But if we are going to go that route, making sure we have some gains, some results from our vote, and to not be so monolithic in our offering when we don't get anything in return.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Yeah. Sorry. This one got a little heavy. It got a little deep. Got a little deep.
Yeah.
We moved from the dating to the politics.
I
but I
wasn't
like to throw a
expecting
little.
it.
I like to throw a
I
little.
wasn't. Hey,
Do a
look,
little
you
curve
know,
in there, huh?
Threw a little curve in
honestly,
there real quick.
honestly, I hate politics. I truly do. But I agree with what you're saying about, us leaning towards just one particular party. But on another note, I just think in general, I don't know necessarily like, I feel like this is a threat just to like my younger generation, and just I feel like Black people in general in the community, we weren't taught like this in school, or like we weren't really pushed like in a positive light for us to go out and vote. So I feel like that within itself is a big threat. There's not a lot of young people that are like educated about it, or even older people as well within the Black community, to like want to go out and even just vote, or even create like their own opinion on how they feel about politics in general. So I just feel like it's just a lack mindset and just a lack of like knowledge as well. But that's my little opinion about it. Honestly,
That's what's up.
That's not necessarily a bad. And I'm sorry, what was your name?
Jade.
Jade. So I don't know that lack of voter participation is necessarily a bad thing. Politics in this country has gotten so far to the left, and I don't mean left versus right, conservative. It's just gone so crazy that most people are more passionate than educated anyway. So when you see these people every 4 years go out there and line up and put stickers on, I voted, like it's not going to affect any change because it's not meant to. I think it's an old saying, if voting really changed everything, they'd outlaw that shit tomorrow. So like what Kev is saying, the power and on the flip side, threats are mainly economic, not so much political. Like you said, you don't see a lot of, you brought it up, I can't name a Japanese politician now or ever in my lifetime. But like you said, they seem to be thriving. So politics, I think, especially at this point, is so tribal and so entrenched. Like nobody's changing anybody's mind. When's the last time you heard a political debate on cable news, on social media, in your real life, where somebody said, that's a good point. I hadn't looked at that like that. Like that's not a real thing that can happen anymore. So
no, for sure. And it's like even with the older generation, I mean, in general, people are so stuck in their ways that people aren't open-minded, whatsoever. I mean, like even my generation, we're kind of starting to like make a change when it comes to like sexuality, when it comes to just people just embracing themselves as individuals. I feel like that's expanding more, where people are starting to be more accepting and starting to be a little bit more open-minded. But as far as like politics, it's either left or it's either right, and nobody is
it's football
open-minded.
teams. I like the dude with the red tie. So when he lies, I'll overlook it. Whoa, with a lady in the blue pantsuit, I like her. So when she starts telling me lies,
but
we'll
what's
let a
crazy?
little bit of that slide. Right?
It's football teams, right? It's red, it's blue.
It's football teams.
But nobody knows nothing about that football team. I know so many people that are for the red team, but they don't know nothing about the red team. But they just want to go vote for it.
Yeah, more passionate than educated.
Or they just want to stand beside that person that is leading, or whatever the case may be, but they're absolutely ignorant on politics in general, or things that are going on amongst us in the world. So
let me give Miss Gigi a little time. We all kind of bombarded our opinions of politics, and Miss Gigi sitting over here real quiet. So let's give her a little bit.
I was just listening, but wow, where do I start? You mentioned that women in our community vote Democrat. So I just want to address that first. I think our community does not really come out in the masses to vote in general. And I think a part of that reason is due to mass incarceration and the lack of ability to vote. So when you see women in the polls, it might be because they have the ability to vote and because they want to vote. I have talked to a lot of my counterparts and peers, and they don't really see some of the males don't really see the importance of voting, which is why you don't see them at the polls. So that's one. Just wanted to address, the reasons why that may be happening. The other thing is politics are bigger than just the presidential election. The local elections in your community is where it matters. And so what I've come to find is people get so caught up on the president, but they don't do their due diligence in researching who are your elected officials in your own state. They don't even know. If I asked everybody right now, who's the governor of your state? Like, I don't know who would know. I'm not questioning you guys, but I don't know who would know because that's not a conversation that people talk about. So when we talk about politics, one of the biggest political threats to Black people is the lack of education when it comes locally. Don't just pick a party based upon what they look like and what they say. Pick the party based upon like the due diligence and what they've done in the community. A lot of times, this last election with the last presidential election, it was a lot of back and forth and a lot of like arguing. I didn't participate because it doesn't matter as much to me. I knew who I was going to vote for, and I stood by that. But it's really the local elections that matter the most because they affect, if you get locked up tomorrow, they affect whether you're probably going to go to jail or not based upon who you've elected. And I think that that's one of the biggest threats. The other biggest threat is, I think, the usage of the media. We get distracted very easily. On the media, they're constantly showing police brutality and things of that nature, and we're outraged, but we're not necessarily signing up to fight for the injustices. Like, how many people do you know that are actually signing the polls, or who are actually making the phone calls to get people out of jail, or who are actually signing petitions to fight the injustice? Sandra Bland, I still don't think that her or her family got the justice that she needed. It was a lot of outrage on social media, but what did you do to participate in changing the laws? So I think the biggest threat is really the lack of education and the outrage without the action behind it.
Yeah. I picked up on one thing you said there. I mean, I heard the whole thing that you said, and some of the stuff I agree with, some of the stuff I disagree with. But the one thing that stood out to me was you said that you have male friends and they're not even interested in voting. And to me, that
you must have everything that I said.
that did.
Yeah, male friend.
That did.
What is a
That
male
stood out
friend?
to me.
Can
That
you
stood out to me the
expound on what
most.
that is?
That stood out to me the most. But
She
here's
spoke so eloquently, and that's all you got.
Yeah,
That's where I got stuck too. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I heard everything you said, but that particular thing stood out the most to me. And the reason it stood out the most to me is because it's what we just talked about, the lack of male leadership. Like, men should be leading the charge into voting. Men should be showing our women, here's why we should be voting. Here's what we should be voting on. Here's the XYZ of everything that we are talking about politically in our community, whether it's from the president to the people on the board of education in our communities. We need to be leading our women. And right now, that's not what's happening in the Black community. Women are leading us. And here's why, to me, that's concerning, is because a lot of times women's priority is safety. A man's priority should be rationale and logic, but a woman's priority for the most part is safety. And so when you have one party telling us, oh, you're safe with us, like you said, police shootings here, this person's going to get you, that person's racist, then a woman's safety kicks in. And this is, to me, this is why the Black community votes Democrat over 90% every election all the time, without considering the fact that we have no leverage with that party, considering the fact that we don't get anything from them. They give every other group something, but we're last. And the reason we're last is because they know we're going to vote for them no matter what. And the other party don't even try to get our vote because they know we ain't voting for them. So if men were leading, at least we would be able to tell our women, hey, hold on. Let's get some leverage real quick. Let's vote one other direction just to show both parties we're in the game. But right now, we're not in the game. Politically, no party has to do anything for us or what? Like nobody has to do anything for us. And I think that is because of a lack of leadership by men, black men especially in politics and leading our women.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who is the number one race and gender that is currently incarcerated?
It's black men.
Okay. And then
well, hold on. It's white men in total number. But if we want to talk percentages, it's black men. But yes, there are more white men in total number in prison than black men. Absolutely. Per capita, yes, we are leading. But okay. Not total number.
So per capita, we're leading. So we can land it there, right? Okay. So when you talk about leadership, a lot of our leaders are incarcerated.
No, they're not.
They are, though.
No.
Yes, they are. We're talking about statistics, right? A lot of our leaders are incarcerated. A lot of our leaders that aren't incarcerated due to their past history, even if they change their life around. I've met some of the most brilliant felons, women and men in the world. Even if they've changed their life around, they don't have the ability to vote. So when you talk about people leading to the poll, a lot of our leaders, one, are incarcerated, or two, they don't have the ability to vote, even if they wanted to.
See, I gotta disagree with you right there, because
okay.
I gotta disagree with you right there, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. Niggas in jail ain't leading, and I say that as a man who's been to jail. And when I went to jail, I was not leading. I was thinking about some way other shit, some dumb shit. And at that point, I was not a leader. Now, when they get locked behind those doors and life starts to get real for them, and they start thinking, "Oh well, shit, I need to measure up. I need to mature up." It don't matter at that point. You done put yourself out the game. You're not a leader. If you disqualified yourself from the game, you're not a leader. The leaders are the people
who incarcerations. Everybody that's behind bars did not commit a crime, unfortunately, but that's another topic. But I'm just going to go with statistics that at the end of the day, a lot of our Black leaders are behind bars. I don't think that, all of them deserve to be there. So when you're talking about politics, we can really talk about politics and statistics and things of that nature. But again, I go back to the biggest political threat, which is the lack of education and knowledge. And we get distracted, which is why you were like, out of all the things I said, what stood out to you the most was that I talked about my personal experience with some of the male friends that I know versus the bigger picture, which is really voting on the local level so that it can affect change on larger levels.
Yeah, no, I didn't, I wasn't remiss on any of the voting smaller level to larger level. I didn't miss any of that. I think, like I said, the thing that stood out to me the most was your friends saying they don't vote. And the reason that stood out to me the most is because not only did your friends say that, but I have a lot of friends that say that. I know a lot of Black men that say that. And because the prior topic was about male leadership, that stood out to me because those two things connected. It connected in the fact that Black men are not leading at this point. And if we want to change anything in our community, Black men have to become better leaders. They have to choose better inside of their dating, inside of the women that they want to be with, and then they have to start leading their families. That's the biggest threat to us politically, is not only the breakdown of our family, but also teaching our men how to be leaders and choosing women who will follow them. This is why we have so many of the problems that we have, and it all starts with men's leadership.
Keep in mind, we just put the author of the mass incarceration bill into the White House. So how's our lack of education is pretty damn heavy.
All right. Anybody else got anything else to say about this topic?
Yeah. Why don't we Why don't we get back to some of that good old?
All right.
Go
All
on and
right.
say it, Miles. Go on and say it.
Next up,
not doing it.
Next up, we got my favorite segment where we kind of give advice to people. It's called Good Advice, Bad Advice.
Good advice, bad advice.
All right. So I thought this was funny. I wanted to share this, and then I wanted to get people's takes.
Shit.
It's from Six Brown Chicks. Shout out to Six Brown Chicks. This question came, and I thought, you know what, we gotta respond to this. So I'm gonna read it, and then I'll give everybody an opportunity to respond to this. So it says, Carlos has 3 kids, and this is from a woman who wrote into Six Brown Chicks. It says, Carlos has 3 kids with a short, fat wife. All she does is cook and get pregnant. She posted their couples pics, and I was furious. I pulled up, told Carlos to hold my purse while I beat her ass. She stomped me out. Her kids helped. Carlos didn't help me. I'm heartbroken. All right. So the question is,
hold on. Sorry, real quick. What? Is this like his side chick or something?
Yeah.
Okay,
this is his side chick right in. So the question is what's the best advice for women dating married men? Who wants to take a crack at that?
Real quick before somebody else can go, but just don't fuck around with a short, fat, married, cooking, getting pregnant chick and think you're about to go do something, get stomped out.
Oh my God. I don't even know what to say.
Jay, what's your advice for this lady? What should she do?
I mean, how do I even respond to this? Are we being for real right now? Like,
yeah, we're keeping it 100. There's plenty of women out there. There's plenty of women out there.
Is this a real life crisis right now?
There's plenty of women out there who are dating married men who need your advice, Jade.
Oh, for sure. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a no. Why would you put yourself in that situation to begin with? How is that benefiting your life? In what way? Mentally, spiritually, emotionally? I don't know about financially, but come on, we're better than that. Yeah. That's my take. Don't do it.
Yeah. All right.
I just like to point out a couple things if I could.
Go ahead.
So, over the course of this show, we discussed some pretty heavy topics, that matter. And I really appreciate that. One of the themes that emerged over the course of this discussion was male leadership in the household, and men really stepping up to take their place. I don't know Carlos, but I feel like it's time for us to really raise a glass and salute to him, because this man is nothing if not a paragon of household leadership and an example, I think, to all of us. His side chick pulled up, jumped out on the wife, who let's not miss what she was doing. All she does is what?
Cook and get pregnant.
Okay, cool. So she's cooking. So the side chick pulls up. Told Carlos to hold her purse.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand the unmitigated nerve required in that? The wife stomped her ass out. This was a whole family affair. The kids jumped in. Whoever Carlos is, Six Brown Chicks is beyond help. She's lost. She'll be likely dead within the year. But as far as Carlos and his family unit, I would like to salute that man, and I think that as gentlemen, we can all take something from that. That's what I got.
All right. Who wants to go?
I just feel like the side chick doesn't know what that lady does, and if the only thing she does is take care of her husband in every way she can, and the children, because obviously she has 3 of them, which means she's doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
Then that can be her job, and that's okay. She don't need to worry about that. And the advice that I would give to her is get your own man, and then that way you won't have to worry about a married man that doesn't prioritize you or take care of you probably in the same way. But it's sad because stories like this almost seem fake, but I know that they're real because I've heard them. I have heard them. They're almost unbelievable. And the fact that a lot of these side chicks really, really believe that the man is going to leave their wife and kids. And a lot of times that's just not the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
Hey.
I would say stay in your lane. I mean, it's pretty simple. You chose this route. If it starts to turn and you start to get into the fast lane, then you get into the fast lane. But if not, you stay in your lane and you ride it out. Like that was your decision to be a side chick. Like you might have an opportunity, but not anymore. Like clearly that was the wrong move. You've
You think that was the wrong move?
It's out the window. But if you stay in your lane and it starts to, he might start getting tired of the kid. You might start getting tired of the fat, short wife. And he might, find, hey, I'm ready to go. And there you go. That's your time to step in. But you can't come in as a side chick and start to make demands like that and get mollywopped in front of the whole family. And
Get feet put on you.
Here's my advice. Here's my advice to homegirl. First off, before I get to my advice, she missed one thing. The wife cooks and gets pregnant and throws hands. That's the third thing. You forgot about
don't leave that out.
You forgot. Don't leave that out.
Don't ever leave that out.
I said, I'm like, listen.
Yeah, and that's my advice to her. Practice practice cooking
and fighting, huh?
Getting pregnant and throwing hands. All right, maybe Carlos might mess with you, or maybe you'll find another Carlos that's just for you. But that sounds like a winning recipe to me. Cooking, getting pregnant, and throwing hands. That's my advice.
Yeah. She said that as a negative. She said, all she does is cook and get pregnant.
Right.
But what that means is that Carlos is eating good and fucking. Now, if you're not, if I don't know how you compete with that. I mean, I guess you can try. But that's a tough hand. That's a tough hand not to play.
With that.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. That's she winning.
She thought because she looked good.
Carlos is winning. Can we just salute Carlos though? Because his children are obviously being raised correctly. They saw a mom in an altercation, and
hey, didn't she say she cooks? Her kids know what a good meal is.
Yeah, they're not missing none of them meals, none of them good meals. Get off my mama.
Nah, I'll fight you over a good meal. I'll fight you over a good meal. So
if I was there, I'd have jumped in.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, we all know how important a good meal is.
Yeah.
All right. Any last words? I'll give everybody an opportunity to shoot their last words. Gonna wrap up at this time. Who wanna give some last words before we wrap this up?
I'll jump in real quick. It was a pleasure meeting you two, Gigi, Jade. Thank you for coming on. It was a nice, robust conversation. There's a little bit more blood pumping than we typically have, so we do appreciate you guys getting the show rolling. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me. It was a fun, chat. We had to add a little spice into the conversation, but I'm glad we got to all discuss. And I like hearing other people's opinions.
Yeah. Awesome. And I'll just say that, I love these healthy debates, but it's all love. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I just think that we as a people have to hold ourselves accountable, do our research. And I guess from that last topic, stay in our lanes. Thank you for having me as well. I know sometimes I get a little spicy, but that's me. And last but not least, make sure you guys follow me at Hey Miss Gillum, and I hope to connect with you guys soon.
Sure.
Right. Pleasure was all mine to Gigi, Miss Jade. Really appreciate it. Really, my homeboys, KB and KJ, those are my guys. But if there's any way we can reach out to Carlos and maybe get a line on him, I really feel like he could add something to the next episode. So I'm hopeful that we're able to track that down.
Hop him in.
Yeah.
Have him hop in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming on. Like Dragonfly said, it was a pleasure for you to meet me. No, I'm just messing around. Jade, absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. Miss Gigi, thank you so much for adding to the conversation. Tremendous conversation. Really appreciate you coming on. Kay and Miles, you guys already know how I feel about y'all. Love you both. That's it for us. Thank you for watching Blk Cinder. We'll be back next week with another episode. Till then, deuces.